Please rise for the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Basil Zemplis.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the City of Perth August 2024 Ordinary Council meeting. I'll formally declare the meeting open at precisely 5 p.m. I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people of Western Australia, and pay my respects to elders past and present. It is a privilege to be standing on Whadjuk Noongar land. And CEO, can I ask you please to recite the prayer?
Almighty God, under whose providence we hold responsibility for this city, grant us wisdom to understand its present needs, foresight to anticipate its future growth, and grace to serve our fellow citizens with integrity and selfless devotion. And to thee be all blessing and glory forever. Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Please be seated. Just bear with me a moment as I shuffle some papers around. Alrighty. So, please note that in accordance with Council Policy 1.4, this meeting is being live streamed and the recording will be made available on the City's website following this meeting. You can watch it anywhere in the world. Item 3 is attendance, and in attendance today we have the Deputy Lord Mayor Clyde Bevan, Councillor Raj Doshi, Councillor Brent Fleeton, Councillor David Gonsalves, Councillor Liam Gobbett, Councillor Victor Coe and Councillor Bruce Reynolds. Good evening to you all. In addition, I welcome officers, members of the public and any media that might be in attendance or watching on the live stream. That takes me to 3.1 and 3.2. Or is that? Yeah, okay. Councillor Catherine Leeser is an apology this evening. She's representing the City at the World Energy Cities Partnership, and no elected members are currently on an approved leave of absence. We have one leave of absence application received prior to the meeting. And do any other elected members have an application for a leave of absence? So, will somebody please move a motion to approve the leave of absence application? That's from Councillor Gonsalves for 8 October 2024 to 29 October 2024 inclusive, and then the 19th of November to the 26th of November 2024 also inclusive. So could somebody please move that motion? Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Coe. Any objections? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. We move now to item 4, announcements. I was going to take the opportunity to acknowledge that one of our councillors will not be returning after this council meeting. Shall I want me to do it now, Councillor Fleeton, or at the end? Yeah, thank you. As you famously quoted, early doors, and here we are living by that creed still. I will take the opportunity to thank Councillor Fleeton for his contribution. Councillor Fleeton was elected to the City of Perth Council in that period of many of your fellow councillors in the room's election period of October 2020, and was a big part of the reset and rebuild of the City of Perth. Councillor Fleeton, along with Councillor Gobbett and the Deputy Lord Mayor and Councillor Coe, had the fortune, or perhaps good fortune, to have to face an election straight away, 12 months after their election period. And I remember saying at the time it was a great endorsement of the work of the new council that all 4 councillors, including Councillor Fleeton, were re-elected after 12 months. Councillor Fleeton has had a huge interest in particular in financial matters relating to the city, and his financial acumen has been of great use and support to all of us, and also took great interest in planning matters here at the City of Perth and was instrumental in helping work through our local planning scheme and strategy. Huge bodies of work that I know he was very proud of being involved in, as was and as is his fellow councillors, two items that were moved through together with the General Manager Dale Page's team. And so for your interest, for your enthusiasm, for your great support of the Lord Mayor and fellow councillors, we say thank you, Councillor Fleeton, and we wish you all the very best for the future. Thank you for being a valued member of our team. Let's move then to item 5 on the agenda, and that is disclosures of interest. And see, I'm going to ask you to detail those interests which have been received.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The following interests have been disclosed. Councillor Victor Coe has disclosed a proximity interest in item 11.1 as his primary residence is on Terrace Road. Councillor Liam Gobbett has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.2 as he has attended events held by the Perth Festival as the city's representative in accordance with the attendance at events policy. No association has been formed and his disclosure represents an impartiality interest only. Councillor Raj Doshi has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.2 as she has attended events representing the city as an elected member. Deputy Lord Mayor Clyde Bevan has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.3 as Marina Hogan was a customer of Friends Restaurant some 15 years ago. Councillor Raj Doshi has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.3 as she is on the board of the Blue Room Theatre in a volunteer position. I have disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.3 as Marina Hogan was a board member of the Rottnest Island Authority when I was the Executive Director. Councillor Liam Gobbett has disclosed an impartiality in item 12.3 as he is a member of the Blue Room Theatre. He has attended events held by the WA Opera, PICF and Strut as the city's representative in accordance with the attendance at events policy. No associations have been formed and this represents an impartiality interest only. And CEO Rylan Tafe is a personal friend of his. Councillor David Gonsalves has disclosed impartiality interests in item 12.3 as Suki Chukua Kalza, Executive Director of the Blue Room, is known to them via Blue Room and Perth Festival events where they have attended as the city's representative in accordance with the events policy. Co-directors Sophie Burgoyne and James O'Hara of Strut Dance are known to them by way of attendance at Perth Festival events where they have been the city's representative in accordance with the events policy, and Executive Director Graham Lovelock and Ali Welburn have been known to them over many years in their community, social and performing arts capacity. They have also previously attended Perth Cabaret Festival events. You have disclosed a direct financial interest in item 12.4 as West Australian Newspapers Limited is owned by Seven West Media and Seven West Media is your employer, and Councillor Liam Gobbett has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 12.4 as employees of Seven West Australian Newspapers Limited are known to him personally.
Thank you very much, CEO. An extensive list. Thanks for going through those. And that's important. So all of those items are on the record. And I will now invite any more, if there are any more, from elected members. Do we have any more disclosures of interest from the floor?
Lord Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Coe, good evening to you.
Good evening. 11.4, did I declare an interest as I do actually live on Terrace Road, Riverfront Master Plan?
Thank you.
I thought I did, but...
Okay. Well, you know, so wise of you to raise it. So the very first one, I think, that the CEO read tonight.
Yeah, 11.4, I believe that also involves, because I actually live on Terrace Road.
As it says in the first one, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I probably should...
So for 11.1 and for 11.4.
11.4, yeah. And
Okay.
I've got the form here, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Well, perhaps you could just add 11.4 to the original form, or it's an old... Yep. So Councillor Coe has disclosed a proximity interest in item 11.1 and 11.4 as his primary residence is on Terrace Road. Thank you. Elected members, any other disclosures of interest from the floor? Okay, thank you. Item 6 is public participation, which we value greatly. There are no questions taken on notice at the ordinary council meeting on July 30, 2024. So we go to public question time for tonight. Now, before we commence public question time, I will remind everybody that we have 15 minutes allocated for public question time in its entirety. And this time is available for asking questions and is not for making statements or expressing personal opinions. In addition, no discussion of the questions or answers is to take placed. Now, as is our standard procedure, questions received with more than 24 hours notice will be responded to first. And for those of you who have submitted your question in the last 24 hours, your question will be included in the minutes of this meeting and a response will be provided in the agenda to the next ordinary council meeting, but it will be made publicly available with those documents. So, CEO, have we received any public questions with more than 24 hours notice?
Yes, Lord Mayor, 3 members of the public have submitted public questions.
Okay, so thank you for that. I'm now going to invite, I believe, the first of them, Mr. Colin Holmes, to come forward. Mr. Holmes, good evening to you. And I'll ask you to just give us your name, I've heard it already, I know, your address, and then your time will start. Thank you. There's just a button there, Mr. Holmes. If you could push the, yeah, that's it.
Good evening. I'm asking this question as an owner or one of the owners in a strata building at 326 Hay Street, on the ground floor of which there's a business operating as a massage shop, which is adjacent to the playing field of a private girls' school. My question is, what is the council's opinion or position regarding a CBD business for which it was granted a licence to provide remedial massage and for which there is now ample evidence to show that they are now providing sexual services? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, CEO?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. If I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Economic Development to answer that question, please.
Thank you, through you, Lord Mayor, and thank you for your question, Mr. Holmes. As you're aware, because I think the officers have talked to you about this a number of times, we have been in quite regular contact with both the owner and the tenant of the premises about the alleged unauthorised use. We've requested quite specific information from them so we could determine whether the business is operating in line with the approvals that they have. And we needed confirmation from them that no services of a sexual nature are being offered at the premises. We've received advice from both the owner and the tenant that no such services are being offered. But given the community concern and the nature of the alleged activities, we've also on a number of occasions raised the matter with the police. It's very difficult for local governments to take compliance action in relation to allegations of this nature. It's generally very difficult to prove that sexual services are actually being offered and to establish what the owner and the business operator's involvement is in such cases. For us to take the next steps towards a legal action or prosecution, we really need a hard evidence about both those things. And it's very difficult with a situation like that to actually get that evidence. But we're continuing to monitor it. We still have our eye on it. We continue to seek and consider any additional information that might point to unauthorised use of the premises. If we get hold of that information, we'll certainly take it to that next step. But I encourage you to keep discussing it with the police, as are we, because it really is a matter for them as well.
Thank you. The police are looking the other way. They're simply not interested. If they've been granted a business licence by the city, is it possible to revoke that business licence?
Through the CEO. General Manager, if you feel equipped to answer the question, then please feel free, if that's okay with the CEO.
Thank you. Through you, Lord Mayor. We're not able to revoke a licence, but we're able to take compliance action. What that means is there's certain steps that are prescribed by law that we have to take. The ultimate step, I guess, is to get them in front of a magistrate and get the magistrate to prosecute the owner of the land, actually, and the business operator for any unauthorised use of activity. So that is the next step that we would take this to. But as I said, we really need hard evidence of what they're actually doing there to be able to convince a magistrate to enforce a fine in that regard and take compliance action. With something like this, it's very difficult to get compliance officers in there to get that hard evidence about services of a sexual nature without actually putting them in a position that is untenable.
So if someone did provide a signed statement of their experience that they were offered sexual services, would that amount to hard evidence?
Through you, Lord Mayor, that would certainly assist. If there was a stat deck provided to that effect, that would assist us in taking that to a next step. I'm not sure if that's already been provided to the city, but if that is provided, it is certainly something that we could use. Whether it's enough to evidence to get a prosecution, we'd need to run that past our lawyers, but certainly it is something that would help.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, General Manager, for answering those questions, and thank you, Mr. Holmes. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for being involved in the process. That's tremendous. We will go now to Laura Martinazzo, who has advised, unfortunately, they're unable to attend tonight's council meeting to ask their questions in person. So as a result, Laura's questions and responses will be provided in the minutes of this meeting. Dave Lee has also advised, unable to attend tonight's council meeting, to ask his questions in person. Dave's questions will also, and responses, will be provided in the minutes of this meeting. So for both Laura and Dave, questions will be answered. Now, CEO, have any other public questions been received prior to or at the meeting tonight?
No, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Now, I will take this moment to say, Mr. Chapman, because we've had a good relationship in here, I know that you had come hoping to be able to ask some questions. And rather than just gloss over you and move on, I can see you sitting there, obviously, I do need to say that you have been advised previously, and need to say it again, that because your questions relate to matters that are now before the State Administrative Tribunal, we're not able to answer them so as not to risk prejudicing this process. So I appreciate that you're here, had hoped to ask the questions. I know you had been advised of this earlier. Maybe you're just here to take part or enjoy the council meeting from the gallery, but I did want to take the opportunity to say that. And as always, we thank you for being here and thank you for being involved. So we move now to item 7, confirmation of minutes. And I'm going to ask for somebody to please move the following motion to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting. That was held on July 30, 2024, or my birthday, Deputy Lord Mayor, as you correctly point out, by being the mover and Councillor Doshi the seconder, that they are true and accurate record. Anybody oppose this motion? This motion being unopposed, I declare it carried unanimously. Item 8, questions by members, which due notice has been given. None of those tonight. 9 is correspondence, none received, and 10 petitions, also no petitions have been received. So we move now to reports. And before we move on to the reports, the following items have been identified to be moved en bloc. They are as follows. 11.2, proposed designation of William Street Heritage Area and draft William Street Heritage Area local planning policy. 11.3, proposed designation of Hay Street Mall Heritage Area and draft Hay Street Mall Heritage Area local planning policy. 15.1, interim monthly financial statements for June 2024. 15.2, schedule of accounts paid June 2024. 16.2, local law review, the Dog Local Law 2011. 17.1, inquiry into the City of Perth, final report. 19.1, future Elizabeth Quay handover to City of Perth. 19.2, report on behavioural complaints made under Council Policy 1.8, Code of Conduct Behavioural Complaints Management. 19.4, CEO Key Performance Indicators Update Report, Q4 2023-2024. That's the period 1st of April to 30th of June 2024. And 19.5, Chief Executive Officer Contract Renewal Negotiations. Do any elected members wish to extract any of the items that I've just listed from the en bloc motion? Okay, so I'll now move a motion that these items be dealt with en bloc. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Any members oppose this motion? Motion being unopposed, I'll now declare it carried unanimously. And the recommendations of those items have now been passed en bloc and in accordance with clause 9.2, Councillor Gobbett, of the City of Perth Standing Orders Local Law 2009 and the officer and/or committee recommendations, they have been adopted by Council. So we therefore now move to the items which have been extracted for debate. And firstly, 11. And this is the Planning and Economic Development Alliance reports. 11.1 is the Draft Terrace Road Character Area Local Planning Policy. Now, Councillor Coe is required to leave the chamber. Is that before we move on? Yep. Okay. Councillor Coe, out you go. Enjoy the view. Thank you. So would anybody like to move the officer's recommendation? Thanks, Councillor Gobbett. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Councillor Gobbett. Nothing from you. Councillor Reynolds. Nothing from you. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against? Councillor Gobbett. Nothing from you. Let's put this one to the vote then, shall we? All those in favour? And that has been carried unanimously. We'll invite the councillor to return. Hey, lost him. Short space of time. Hello, Doctor. Welcome back. 11.2 is the proposed designation of William Street Heritage Area and draft William Street Heritage Area local planning policy. That is on block. Item 11.3 is the proposed designation of Hay Street Mall Heritage Area and draft Hay Street Mall Heritage Area local planning policy, also on block, which takes us to 11.4 and Councillor Coe. I know. Thank you, Councillor. So Councillor has gone because of a proximity interest as declared. The Riverfront Master Plan. I'm going to move the officer's recommendation here, and Councillor Gobbett, thank you, a seconder. So it is not often that an opportunity like this one exists for a city. An opportunity to shape the future of our capital city and an opportunity to make a statement and to put forward a visionary piece that can be considered by our community, the broader Western Australian community, and indeed those who like to visit Perth from wherever it might be. The opportunity exists to push forward a master plan for the people of Perth to consider, which will help the City of Perth meet population targets of 55,000 residents, an extra 20,000 people by 2036 and 90,000 residents by 2050. A master plan that will make the area of Langley Park and Riverside Drive much more livable, much more sustainable, and certainly more prosperous as well. All of the pillars that we have governed this city by get a big tick under the master plan that is being proposed. The opportunity to better utilise the green space that exists with Langley Park and to better facilitate the connectivity to our Swan River is one that we have before us tonight, councillors. A reminder, of course, this is not saying tonight that the work begins tomorrow. This is pushing forward the process of starting the master plan, which, it is very important to note, will include considerable community consultation. And we know that there are many in our community who would like to have their say. This process will give them that opportunity. Some of the highlights for me of the master plan concept that we are considering tonight: a further greening of what is already a green space, but the addition of somewhere around 3,000 trees, a massive increase in the biodiversity of Langley Park and the foreshore area. the opportunity to touch and interact with the river, including a swimming lagoon and some amenity that will make the area more attractive and, as I've mentioned, more livable, but certainly increase opportunities for people to come, interact and enjoy the space. It can be done in stages. It will consider parking needs for the area and also, importantly, will follow on from the work that's already been done at Elizabeth Quay and the proposed work of state government to the site just to one side, which is the Aboriginal Cultural Centre and Museum. I've mentioned about the connectivity with the river, and I was very pleased to see both the Premier and the Deputy Premier out on Sunday making comments about better utilising our river. The Deputy Premier said the reality is we're seeing a significant growth in high-density development in key areas along the Swan River, and with major developments planned in the future. And the significant growth in population along the Swan River is changing the viability equation of an expanded ferry service. And our government believes it's time for our city to take this next step. Obviously, as part of the master plan that is being pushed forward, the ability for the ferry services that would expand as part of the proposal from the state government, there would be many opportunities for them to also service this area. And I was pleased to hear the Premier say our Swan River is one of the most beautiful waterways in the world and has never been used to its full potential. I want that to change. And Premier, we are in wholehearted agreement on that point. There is a huge opportunity to increase the livability and accessibility around and on our river. I point out again that members of our community will have the opportunity to have their say. For a long time, our city has talked about this. There's been plans, proposals, drafts, other master plans come forward. Here's the opportunity to put it on the table. It is a bold vision to take our city forward. It's a bold vision that I commend my councillors to also help take forward from tonight, to put it on the table and to let Perth decide once and for all. Do we want to increase the accessibility, livability and prosperity of Langley Park and Riverside Drive or not? If the answer is no, we'll understand. But this takes us to the place where we can get that answer. So I look forward to it being considered tonight by my fellow councillors. And as you can tell, I urge you to join me in supporting this motion before us. Councillor Gobbett.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This is definitely a watershed moment for Perth. It really is nation-building stuff. 200 plans over a century, and tonight we're here to make progress. The Riverfront Master Plan, it is version 1.1, and in all likelihood, it won't be the final version, because through genuine consultation and further input from state and federal agencies, operators, vendors, users, and importantly, our ratepayers, our community, the plan will evolve to make sure it is fit for purpose. For some perspective in considering the draft plan before tonight, I looked back on my time at council at the City of Joondalup when in 2009, when I came on board, the Ocean Reef Marina Master Plan had gone through years of planning and consultation and 11,000 submissions and 92% approval rating. And by 2019, with the finalisation of that planning phase, it was up to version 7.2A, or as one of my colleagues put it, probably about version 100 by the time it got to 0.2A. When it was handed over to Development WA to deliver, as the COJ valued that works as near as makes no difference, around about $1 billion. So that's a similar figure we're talking about. Dev WA started construction on the marina breakwater in 2021 and won't finish civil works until about 2030 with a full build out in 2036. So, albeit a marine environment, but from around 2006 to 2036, that's a 30-year journey. So for perspective, that's the reality of the time frame that's associated with a large-scale and long-term capital project like the Riverfront Master Plan. We have to acknowledge that with a project of this scale, we need to be thinking beyond our term of government and our individual time on council. What we're talking about tonight, Lord Mayor, it's not pie-in-the-sky type thinking, or as some might call it, a pipe dream, but in continuing the words of John Williamson, it is the right dream for me. So what it is, simply, Lord Mayor, it's a starting point. It's version 1.1. It's something to work on. If we don't start somewhere, we never will. As the report highlights in line 13, we have invested a great deal of effort in the lead up to tonight In comparing the example I gave to Ocean Reef Marina, the team here at the City of Perth have, over the years prior to our respective elections, held workshops with input from external, private and government agencies, and they've got us to a point where we're ready to go out to community consultation with the first cut. I'm aware the City sent stakeholders an invitation to a kick-off workshop in 2020, rather fortuitously in the month we are in now, in August. So for this council, we're already in year 4 of hopefully not 30, but with major projects like this, there was work before our term, it continues today, and will hopefully, with a strong-willed council in the future, in partnership with state and federal agencies and the private sector, this progress will continue to delivery. Precincts centred around ecology, events, leisure, play, culture, and key themes of the plan that underpin them are what we're seeking feedback on to make sure that progress is aligned with community expectations. Broadly, those themes are to reimagine the river's edge with new planting, beaches, boardwalks, terraces, the realignment of Riverside Drive to create more usable and safer spaces, the promotion of destination attractions and connections to the city with points of interest at the lagoon, cafes, restaurants, landscaping, new boat moorings, its better wetland and stormwater management and connections to country, ultimately enhancing the livability of our city and creating a place for people. I think it's a fair summation of certainly my last 4 years here at Council that last point has been our focus. And as the gavel comes down on Councillor Fleeton's last meeting, I'm reflecting on what has been achieved by this council, our property review and our community needs analysis and the importance that they have played as bodies of work in setting the foundation to guide strategic future decision making to support the city creating places for people. I encourage our community to have a look at the plan and provide their input, and I look forward to reading the survey responses. And with that, Lord Mayor, I'll close and commend the plan for community consultation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gobbett. Is there any councillors who wish to speak for or against? Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll be very brief. The statement I'd like to go on record to say would be certainly the endorsement of both what you have said, and what Councillor Gobbett has said. Almost 200 years ago, my great-great-grandfather, John Stanton, rode down the Swan as part of the landing party to find water. And this nostalgic side of me closes my eyes from time to time on the river, and I wonder what he would have seen, and it would have been a majestic, and it's still majestic. Change is inevitable, and if he was to open his eyes today, he would see a lot of positive change that we're all proud of within our city, and we've grown into a beautiful city, something that we are very proud of. For the residents and concerned expressions that I've received, both positive and concerned and negative in regards to this proposal, I just want to go on record to say that it is consultation phase only. It is something that you'll now get the opportunity to speak for and against, because we do represent you, and we'll be doing everything possible to make sure that we reflect the wishes of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone wishing to speak for? Councillor Gonsalves.
Just have a quick question to clarification. Just on page 115,
Yes.
In the introduction, it says, number one, that we've developed, that it being a world-class destination, despite developments of over 200 master plans since 1883. I just want to make sure that we've not had 200 master plans, one every 9 months, since 1883, and that it's actually, I think, 20 master plans.
Thank you, Councillor Gonsalves. I reckon you might be right, actually. I reckon it is 200, just quietly.
Yes. Can I ask the GM Planning and Economic Development to answer that, please, Lord Mayor?
Certainly.
Through you, Lord Mayor, I can double check that number, but that's the number that I have. That's come through in the reports that have been previously done. Bearing in mind that master plans don't always take the form of this current master plan, there might have been a series of smaller master plans that dealt with smaller components of the foreshore over time. So it's not necessarily 200 equivalent master plans.
Anyone else for or against? Councillor Fleeton.
I'll speak for it, and just picking up on Councillor Gobbett's point, which I thought was one of his best speeches I've heard in my time here. Thinking of our role as a local government, I recall when the Minister of the day was talking about what a council should focus on rather than getting involved in the nuts and bolts of DAs, concentrate on strategic long-term planning for their city. This is clearly it. I thought it was a brilliant paper which mapped out the technical studies in the background that has formed this idea. It's not a thought bubble. I know the government of the day considers any idea that they haven't come up with a thought bubble. This is well beyond the politics of the day. What I hope doesn't happen is I come back in a few years and see this gathering dust because the government of the day has simply disregarded what is a serious body of work because it hasn't been theirs. I think if the city can see two levels of government working together and push this forward, it might not be the final product that's adopted, but I think it's a great opportunity for this level and the state to work together. And just pointing out the recent re-engagement with some multiple departments in point 4. So for the ministers of the day to think that this is a thought bubble, well, they're talking about that of their own department. So I find that particularly odd that they're still playing those type of games. So I wish you all the best for the future and hopefully this comes to fruition.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fleeton. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against? So I'll just close by saying, fellow councillors, here it is. Here's the opportunity to take that visionary piece forward, to push it out to our community, both close to the city and further afield to consider it. This master plan envisages a skate park, multi-sports courts, a riverside cultural walk, nature playgrounds, a dog park, community changing rooms, 3,000 trees, the walking trails as I mentioned, extra amenity, and it keeps the essence of Langley Park with 2 fields, one with a capacity of around 10,000 people, one around 25,000. When the Fremantle Dockers or the West Coast Eagles win their next premiership, whenever that might be, we can still have the welcome home party at Langley Park. And the centrepiece in the plan includes 3 riverfront beaches, includes a lagoon where people can swim, surrounded by breakwater islands, a jetty, a ferry stop, and boat moorings. And councillors, if endorsed tonight by council, I don't think it is underselling it to say it would be the most significant city-shaping project of our lifetimes, and I commend it to you. All those in favour? And it is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Let's get Councillor Coe back in. Yes. Thanks, councillor. Are you out again tonight, or that's it? You're staying with us now for the rest of the night? Okay. Doors are open. And away we go with item 12, Community Development Alliance reports. Now, 12.1 is the review of Policy 4.4, Mobile Food Trading. Would anyone like to move the recommendation here? Oh, geez, Councillor Coe's come back in. Opened up the... thank you, Councillor Gobbett. And a seconder, please. Thanks, Councillor Gonsalves. Councillor Gobbett. Councillor Gonsalves? Anyone wishing to speak for or against?
Against, Lord Mayor. Page 210, the main policy, well, the proposal, 50 metres. The first bullet point there, your change is reducing it from 100 to 50, and you're trying to strike a balance between the vendors, community need and bricks and mortar businesses. But then to me, with the second bullet point, you've isolated businesses in the malls, which you're protecting, but anyone outside of that, we're happy with something cropping up 50 metres away from you. I think you're treating businesses differently depending on where they are within the city. They're still paying rates. I think 50 metres is far too close. The intent of the whole policy, so I just needed to register my vote against.
Thanks, Councillor Fleeton. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against? Yes, Deputy Lord Mayor.
I'd like to agree with Councillor Fleeton. Our businesses pay rates, they have large investments in their businesses, and here we have competition that just have a caravan turn up on the lawn near their premises and take away their customers. I just see this as we're not looking after our residents or our ratepayers by allowing this to happen. I think 100 metres maybe is okay, but I certainly know how hard it is to have a business in the city and just have someone pop up around the corner and go into competition with you with a very little investment in what they do.
Thanks, Deputy Lord Mayor. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against? Councillor Coe.
I just have a question. That's actually a very good point, raising that 50 metres versus 100 metres. If we make an amendment to make it 100 metres, would that get the other councillors across the line? Policy says 100. 100?
So, was there a question there, Councillor Coe?
Well, if we keep it to 100, would that change your decision?
Well,
Current policy is 100.
Is 100.
So you just have to vote this down.
Councillor Doshi?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. My question is, why are the malls treated differently in terms of trading with the food and beverage outlets? What's different about them in that event space compared to anywhere else?
Thanks, Councillor Doshi. CEO?
If I could invite the General Manager, Community Development to respond, please.
Thank you. Just in regards to the malls versus the other locations, they're generally parks, so like Wellington Square and other reserves. So they often don't have shops open on the weekends that may be close by. And the malls, obviously, there's so many shops and locations around to even meet the 50-metre requirement. The exclusion is if there are events that are approved and organised, then we do use mobile vans in those locations. Thank you.
Thank you. I just make this point, councillors, and I'm not wishing to stifle debate or discussion in any way, shape or form, but some of what I'm hearing are the sorts of questions or comments that should and can be discussed at the agenda briefing session. The purpose of the agenda briefing session is to ask some of the sorts of questions that I'm hearing tonight. I say that not to slap anyone on the wrist, but just as a reminder, and that the ordinary council meeting happens on one Tuesday. The Tuesday 7 days before it is the agenda briefing session. And that is the forum for lots of these questions and discussions to take place so that we are informed when we come here to vote. I just say that as a reminder. Councillor Reynolds?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. When I was reading through the papers, I did give this a lot of thought, and when I first read it, certainly I was a little unhinged around being a business operator and a ratepayer, etc., and understanding how difficult it is to run those types of services. But then when I looked at it from a practical point of view, I was trying to think of the areas that, because 50 metres is a fair whack, you know, it's a long distance when you actually pace it out. So from edge of say a park like Wellington Square or 50 metres to the nearest service provider, I couldn't think of that many places that would be affected. 100 metres is, you know, obviously it's a long way as well. So taking that into consideration, I'd be speaking for it, but I'm certainly of the similar vein to Councillor Fleeton and Deputy Lord Mayor Bevan in regards to supporting at every opportunity our bricks and mortar establishments for the reasons of understanding how difficult it is out there to survive in a small business.
Thanks a lot, Councillor Reynolds. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against? I was moved by Councillor... Oh, yes, Councillor Gonsalves.
Just a question on what you advised there around the elected member engagement session. Just a clarification, did it go to a previous engagement session?
So no, I was talking about the agenda briefing session, and that's the session that's held 7 days before.
So just to clarify, has it gone to an engagement session?
From memory, CEO?
No, Lord Mayor.
Okay.
And could I also clarify, in our previous iteration of our policy committee, would this have been a policy that would have otherwise gone through that?
CEO?
Under the previous committee, all council policies went to the policy committee, and council determined to discontinue that committee, and the efficiency now is through the agenda briefing and then into council.
So, did I ask Councillor Gobbett if you'd like to close? I'm asking now.
Happy to close, Lord Mayor. I think that what the policy is seeking to achieve is a greater amount of activation and vibrancy in our city. And based on the advice from our General Manager, I'm more than happy to support it on that basis and commend it to Council. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Gobbett. So we will put that to the vote now. All those in favour, and that is Councillor Gobbett, the Lord Mayor and Councillor Reynolds, and those against, Councillor Doshi, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Fleeton, Councillor Gonsalves and Councillor Coe. So it is defeated 5-3. Oh, look at that, maths on the fly. 12-2, major events and festival sponsorship. Councillor Liam Gobbett has an impartiality interest. Councillor Raj Doshi has an impartiality interest. Would anybody like to move the officer's recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Gobbett. And a seconder? I'll second it now. All right, Deputy Lord Mayor seconding. Thank you. Councillor Gobbett and DLM. Councillor Gobbett.
Not at this stage, thanks.
Thank you, DLM.
No, thank you.
Anyone wishing to speak for or against? Councillor Gobbett.
No, thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 12.3 is the Arts and Culture Sponsorship 24-25. Now, interests here. Impartiality interests from Councillor Doshi, CEO Michelle Reynolds, Councillor Liam Gobbett, Councillor David Gonsalves and Deputy Lord Mayor Clyde Bevan. Would anybody like to move the officer's recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Gobbett. A seconder. Thank you, Councillor Doshi.
Lord Mayor, I'd like to move an amendment.
So, we're going to get the amendment read in a second. No, that's the original councillor. The DLM has just moved. Wants to move I don't know. Should we? Well, he does need a second. Right. So a seconder, please, for the amendment.
What is the amendment?
Yeah. Can we have the amendment, please?
The amendment is that we increase the funding for the Leicester Prize from 20,000 to 60,000.
Thank you. And the seconder is Councillor Reynolds. Okay. So at this point, I would like to foreshadow an amendment if the DLM's amendment that we just heard, if we heard it, is lost. I'd like to foreshadow an amendment to increase the amount of sponsorship for the Leicester Prize 2024 by $15,000. The allocation will be drawn from unassigned funds from the $5.37 million sponsorship budget. So that has been foreshadowed. So we go back to the amendment. So is the DLM's going to speak to it now? And then the seconder. Yeah. DLM.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The Leicester Prize is a high-profile event with a long association with the city. Since 2017, we've provided $60,000 per year in support of this event. This event has national prominence and it is a platform for many West Australian artists. It is widely acknowledged as an important event in the city's cultural calendar. Included is workshop series, youth awards, transport initiatives whereby seniors, students, Indigenous finalists from the Kimberley are transported to the city for this event. The fee of $15 for this event is a year's subscription at the museum. This money goes to the museum. None of the funds go to the Leicester Prize. This subscription is an investment in our culture by encouraging people to visit the museum at other times during the year and using their membership and encourage them to come to the city. The latest application submitted to Council, as the CEO gave a deputation last week, was unfortunately flawed due to inexperienced staff making the application. To overcome this, I believe we already have a history of experience supporting this award and approving their application since 2017 for the same amount of money is an obvious show of support. In 2025, the Leicester Prize main exhibition will feature 40 of the 900 original artworks submitted by artists across Australia, considered for 7 awards totalling $100,000 in prize money. As well as the main award, there is a Leicester Prize Connecting Communities project, which there is a community engagement initiative that brings visitors from 5 metropolitan areas to attend the exhibition by bus free of charge. There is also a separate youth exhibition, the Leicester Prize Youth Awards. Attendance at this exhibition is free to all students. Our city, Perth, has been acknowledged as one of the most livable cities in the world. The only criticism offered to us is that we lack culture. The Leicester Prize is renowned throughout Australia, and proudly our city sponsorship is a vital part to this cultural success. It is estimated that between 50 to 80,000 people will attend this event in the foyer of the museum, and previously the exhibition was held in a small room hidden away in the art gallery, hence at 18,000 people. 20,000 has already been recommended to be approved. This needs to be increased to 60,000, which will make this event viable and enable us to continue to be part of our city's culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. After careful consideration for the discussions from last week, I'd also like to share my thoughts and support for the amended motion. I generally do tend to support recommendations from our administration. I believe they consistently strive to be fair and just and work hard to arrive at their assessments. And while I do respectfully ask lots of questions and challenge recommendations from time to time, I do have the respect for them to know that they work so hard and they put a lot of thought into all their decisions. However, in this case, my support for the amended motion stems from concerns regarding the applicant's administration errors and the ticket pricing, which seems to have negatively impacted their application score. Regarding this cost of entry, the $15 fee, if I understand correctly, it provides patrons with a full year access to the museum, which will no doubt encourage greater patronage from both visitors to the city and to the museum itself. However, it is important to highlight that previous success does not guarantee future support, and each application must be reviewed on its own merits each year. The administration's decision to adjust the grant this year is a testament to their diligent approach, and they do deserve commendation for that. However, I remain unconvinced that the application should face such a significant reduction, particularly considering the outstanding work they do for the artists and the culture within our community, especially in the areas of youth, senior and Indigenous groups. Therefore, I support Deputy Lord Mayor Bevan's amended motion and encourage both the team at Leicester Prize and our administration to continue their excellent work in our community.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against? And we're speaking for or against the amendment. Yes. The amendment. Well, I will speak against. First thing I'll say is none of this is intended as commentary on the Leicester Prize itself. And the team that came last week to give the delegation acknowledged, and as has been acknowledged by others, that the application to receive the funding was not of the standard that it could have been. So I don't think that's in dispute, and we know that it's not. And we accept that there might have been reasons for that, and we do acknowledge those. But nonetheless, we know on the record it wasn't at the level that it has been. We also acknowledge that when our team is making their considerations, one of the factors that they take into account is whether it is a free event or not. And we know now, perhaps through circumstances not of their making, but we know now that when our team came to assess it, the fact of the matter was that what had been a free event was no longer a free event. There was now a charge being administered. We hear often of our need to support the arts. And I'm very, very passionate about this, especially in my 4 years as Lord Mayor, because sometimes there is a finger pointed towards the city of Perth about its need to support the arts. Well, I did take the opportunity to look up over the last financial year what our support of the arts looks like. And it looks like around $2.26 million, including, for example, council house foyer exhibition programs that run, public art maintenance, art collection and memorabilia conservation. There's arts and culture sponsorships, $800,000. Our major events and festival sponsorship and the elements from that sponsorship, which are arts-related events, for example, Fringe and Perth Festival, $800,000. Festivals and event sponsorships for other areas like the Jazz Festival and Strange Festival, 31 acquitted local activation grants, which identify as arts and cultural live music programs, a sum of around $239,000. And there are more, as I said, a grand total of $2.26 million. But the bit that really got me, and we heard the Deputy Lord Mayor say, this is an event renowned throughout Australia. Indeed it is. Yet for some reason that is unexplainable, the art gallery, the home of art in Western Australia, have chosen not to support the state's premier portraiture prize. So, yes, we should support the arts and the state's premier portraiture prize should be supported, yet the art gallery itself is not supporting it. I just find that almost impossible to understand. Now, notwithstanding, like the Deputy Lord Mayor has said and Councillor Reynolds, they have previously received an amount of $60,000. We can see why our team marked them down, because the criteria was not fulfilled in the same way this year. But it's an event that we've enjoyed, that we want to see thrive, and we want to assist. And that's why I have foreshadowed the amendment of my own, which would at least see an extra $15,000 added to the team from the Leicester Prize to assist them in providing what is a great event for our city. I had the great pleasure of opening the event last year, DLM. It was in a large room at the Art Gallery and a huge crowd was there. And I still shake my head. I just don't understand how the Art Gallery itself is not supporting the Leicester Prize. So I am speaking against on that basis. Anyone else for? Against? DLM.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This is a very important event, and I acknowledge that there simply was a fault in the application for this event, and as I said, it was explained by the CEO last week. And an inexperienced staff member did this, but we at the city know these awards, and we have a history of approving this award for the last 6 years of $60,000. I also know that transportation to this event at the museum of students, seniors and Indigenous finalists from Kimberley will not be affordable. Simply $15,000 extra does not cut the mustard when it comes to making this event work. You talk about the art gallery and the museum. There was 18,000 people at the art gallery. It is projected it will be between 50 to 80,000 people at the museum. So this is a remarkable change. And I believe that the $15 membership to the museum, which gives people the subscription to come anytime during the year, is very minimal. It cost me $11 for a soda lima bitters at a place the other night. $15 is, with all due respect, not a lot of money in these days. And especially with the ability to go to the museum and enjoy all the happenings at the museum, I think this is a real investment and something we should support. Councillor, this is about doing the right thing, and I seek your support.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. So I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Could I just had a question?
No, closed. Yeah. All those in favour? Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Gonsalves, Councillor Reynolds and Councillor Coe and Councillor Doshi. All those against? Councillor Fleeton, Councillor Gobbett and Lord Mayor. So that has passed 5-4. Thank you, everybody. Let's go to the next item, 12.4, Economic Development Sorry? Oh, we've got to go back to the original. Okay. Right, okay. So we go back to the original as amended. And it was Councillor Gobbett and Councillor Doshi was our mover and seconder. Councillor Gobbett.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to close on the item and just echoing the comments, obviously, on the most recent discussion, do acknowledge that the Leicester Prize provide a wonderful event for the people of Perth to enjoy, and it would be remiss not to mention some of the other programs that have been touched on in the report. CO3, I went along to that dance performance a while ago. A great organisation, the Black Swan State Theatre Company themselves, a great organisation, as are the West Australian Opera and the Perth Cabaret Festival, and the Ballet, Wasso, and the Blue Room Pika, and Perth Moves at Strut. So look forward to what the year ahead is going to be for arts and culture in the city of Perth. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gobbett. And the seconder was? That was the close. Right. Well done, Councillor Gobbett. Let's go to the vote then. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, 12.4, as foreshadowed by me, Economic Development Sponsorship Program, West Australian Newspapers Limited. There's a direct financial interest from me, so I am required to depart the chamber. And Councillor Liam Gobbett has an impartiality interest. I'm going to go now and invite the Deputy Lord Mayor forward to run the show from here. Thank you, DLM.
Thank you to the Lord Mayor. 12.4, Economic Development Sponsorship Program, West Australian Newspapers Limited. Do we have a mover for the recommendation, please? Councillor Gobbett, do we have a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Brent Fleeton. Would the mover like to speak?
No, thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Would the seconder like to speak? Would anyone like to speak against the recommendation? All right, well, I'll put it. Would you like a right of reply? I remember this time. Okay. Put your hands. If you'd like to put your hands, please, if you recommend this. Thank you. I declare that the recommendation is approved. I nearly forgot.
Thank you, DLM. So, 13 and 14, Infrastructure Operation Alliance reports, Commercial Service reports, none of those tonight. Item 15 is Corporate Services Alliance reports, and 15.1 on block, Interim Monthly Financial Statements, June 2024. 15.2 also on block, Schedule of Accounts paid, June 2024. 16. Chief Executive Officer Alliance reports, and 16.1 is Catalina Regional Council, appointment of City of Perth member. And this is extracted for debate. We need an absolute majority here. So, just before we do this, I'm going to take the opportunity to explain that my understanding is we've had a number of nominees, and what we're going to do is take those, once we put it on the table, we'll take those nominees, a ball will be drawn, that name will be inserted into the item, and then council will have that name, forward to consider. So, we're looking here to move the recommendation. The recommendation is there for you to see, and it will have the name inserted in it when we consider it. So, could I have a mover for the recommendation, please? Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. And a seconder? Thank you, DLM. So, would any elected member who wishes to nominate for the position of member on the Catalina Regional Council please raise their hand? Councillor Doshi. So we're preparing the balls. Deputy Lord Mayor. Councillor Gonsalves. And Councillor Coe. Okay. Yes.
A question, Lord Mayor. Councillor Victor Coe.
About to answer that question. So if Councillor Coe is the successful candidate at the end of this process, we will also then need to fill the deputy's position because Councillor Coe is currently the deputy. Make sense? Okay, so we're just preparing those.
Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep. CEO? See the 4? Okay.
Lord Mayor.
Yes.
Councillor Coe is the deputy. I would have thought that during the period that he's the deputy and when there is a vacancy that he would step up into it. This appears to not be the case.
No, that's not how it happens.
Okay.
Just a question there. Could we just have a clarification as to why and any advice?
They're the rules.
The advice received from the city. If
Well, it's not how it happens. They're the rules. The rules are the rules. So it's against the rules to do it that way.
I guess my question is, has the city received any advice, Lord Mayor, on that?
Well, yes, my understanding is that advice is often received here. Through to governors. Yeah, busy preparing the balls, but can do two things at once.
Through you, Lord Mayor. Councillor Coe has been appointed to that position for a term of 2 years, and his membership won't expire until the next election, the next ordinary election. The only way in which that appointment will expire is if Councillor Coe chooses to leave the position or if the term expires. It's a separate position. It's not like a deputy member of a group where you step up in lieu of the initial member. It's a different process.
Okay, so balls are in. Live drawing? I'm drawing, okay. I'm announcing. Okay, so I'm drawing the nominee out of the ballot boxes you've just seen. I'm about to open it, although they're very difficult to open, and then I will move. And then I will move an amendment for the appointment of this nominee. Now, the nominee is Councillor Raj Doshi. So I will now move the amendment for the appointment of this nominee. And it reads as follows. I move the amendment for Council to appoint Councillor Raj Doshi as the city's member on the Catalina Regional Council. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Gobbett. Well, I'm happy to speak for it and say that I had full confidence in all of our councillors tonight, whichever name was selected and would go in, that they will be capable of doing a very good job and representing the city as best they can and to a very high standard. So that's why I will be voting for the person's name that has been inserted into the blank. Councillor Gobbett.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm sure Councillor Doshi, if this motion is successful, will be ably supported by Councillor Coe, should she not be able to make it along to any meetings, and look forward to the motion passing. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Gobbett. Anyone else for or against? I'll close by adding one final remark is I think the opportunity for councillors to extend their opportunities in leadership and obviously knowledge base with other committees is something that we look forward to promote. And I'm pleased that we're able to do that through this process. And I'll take the opportunity also to thank Councillor Fleeton for his work as the city's appointment on this board. We'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Congratulations, Councillor Doshi. Back to the main, which is, have we moved and seconded that?
As amended.
As amended. Right.
Back to that, as amended. Now it's not Councillor Doshi. You moved an amendment.
Right, yes, okay. So, is Councillor Dave to speak on this?
No, it's Reynolds and Gio. So Councillor Reynolds can close.
Okay, yeah, so Councillor Reynolds, we're back to the original. I know this is sort of local government. You'd think that was it, right? That felt like an unbelievable conclusion to an exciting point of the meeting. But no, the local government rules are now you've got to go back and formalise the formality, if that makes sense. Councillor Reynolds, thank you for the supporting laughter from the General Manager at the back. Noted and appreciated.
So what exactly do I have to say?
You know,
Closed.
Yeah. Yep, that'll do. Let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? Shock horror. Carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Our friends from... You wonder about that, don't you? A little bit. 16.2 is Local Law Review, Dog Local Law 2011. Not the best title, that one. I noticed that at the start and I sort of stick by that. That's on block, thank you. Item 17 is Committee Reports. 17.1 is the Inquiry into the City of Perth. Final report! That's also on block. Well done, team. 18 is Motions of which notice has been given. We don't have any of those tonight. So we move to 19, matters for which the meeting may be closed. So they are all on block except for one, 19.3. So well, I take the opportunity to say that 19.1, future Elizabeth Key handover of City of Perth. 19.2, report on behavioural complaints made under Council Policy 1.8, Code of Conduct Behavioural Complaints Management. And CEO Key Performance Indicators Update Report, Q4 2023-2024, which is the period 1st of April, 30th of June 2024, all on block. Oh, and one more, a 19.5 Chief Executive Officer Contract Renewal Negotiation. So all of those on block. So I'll now move a motion to go behind closed doors. Yeah. Who was that? That was me, seconder. Thanks, Councillor Gobbett. Any objections? So if we could close the meeting, please. Might miss your flight. Thank you, Ebony. Thank you. So live stream is back on. Officers are rejoining us. So item 20 is urgent business. Now, no items have been consented to being raised in accordance with clause 4.14 of the City of Perth Standing Orders Local Law. So, therefore, we are at item 21. There being no further business, take this opportunity again to thank Councillor Fleeton for his contribution and wish him all the very best for his future. And I declare the ordinary council meeting closed at 6:16 p.m. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Could you all please rise for the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Basil Zemplis.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.